The medical bay hummed with a soft blue glow as machines beeped rhythmically in the darkness of space. Dr. Zielerin moved between the holographic displays with practiced ease, her forearms dancing across the controls. She had worked on Galactic Station Theta 7 for 15 years, treating patients from hundreds of different worlds. Nothing surprised her anymore, until today. Kim Taeyong lay unconscious on the examination table, his dark hair matted with sweat and dust from the mining accident. He looked ordinary enough, just another human worker from one of the outer colonies. The accident report said a support beam had fallen on him during a routine excavation. Simple injuries, simple treatment. Except nothing about his scans was simple. "Doctor, you need to see this," called out Nurse Velcor, a young Velosian who had just started working at the station 3 months ago. His voice carried an edge of confusion that made Zielerin's antennae twitch with concern. She approached the genetic analysis station and felt her blood run cold. The holographic display showed Taeyang's DNA structure rotating slowly in the air, but something was wrong. Very wrong. "Run the scan again," she ordered, clicking her mandibles together nervously. There must be an error in the system. Velcor's fingers moved quickly across the console. The machine whirred to life again, sending new scanning beams across the unconscious human. Minutes passed. The same results appeared on the screen. "It's not an error, Doctor," Velcor whispered. Zielerin leaned closer to the display, her compound eyes analyzing every detail. In her long career, she had examined DNA from over 3,000 different species. She had seen genetic mutations, evolutionary adaptations, and hybrid combinations. But this was impossible. Taeyang's DNA contained sequences that did not match anything in the Galactic Registry. The database held genetic information from every known species in explored universe. Millions of life forms cataloged over thousands of years. Yet here was a human with genetic markers that registered as completely unknown. "Look at these fragments," Velcor said, pulling up another screen. His genome contains pieces from thousands of extinct Earth species that died out millions of years ago. It's like his DNA is a living museum. Zielerin studied the data carefully. She could see genetic markers from ancient Earth creatures, primitive mammals, early reptiles, even traces of species from Earth's prehistoric oceans. It made no sense. Evolution did not work this way. DNA did not collect fragments from extinct species like souvenirs. "How much of his genome is affected?" she asked. "Approximately 43% of his DNA contains these unusual sequences," Velcor replied. "The other 57% is normal human genetic code. But, Doctor, there's something else. These unknown sequences, they're not random. They're organized, structured, almost like they were deliberately placed there." A soft groan interrupted their discussion. On the examination table, Taeyang's eyes fluttered open. He blinked several times, adjusting to the dim blue light of the medical bay. "Where am I?" he mumbled, trying to sit up. Zielerin gently pressed him back down with one of her forehands. "Please remain still, Mr. Kim. You are in the medical facility on Galactic Station Theta 7. You were injured in a mining accident on Colony 9. Taeyong rubbed his head, wincing slightly. "How long was I out?" 17 hours, Zielerin replied, her compound eyes fixed on him with intense curiosity. "Your injuries were not serious, but we needed to run some routine medical scans. Mr. Kim, I need to ask you something important." "Sure, ask away," he said, sitting up slowly despite her earlier instruction. He looked around the medical bay with mild interest, taking in the alien equipment and strange architecture. "Has anyone ever told you that you are genetically unusual?" Taeyong laughed, a warm sound that seemed out of place in the clinical environment. "Genetically unusual? Doc, I'm just a regular guy from Seoul. I fix mining equipment and drink too much coffee. Nothing special about me." Zielerin exchanged a glance with Velcor. "Mr. Kim, I need you to understand something. Your DNA is unlike anything we have ever encountered in the Galactic Registry. You are human, yes, but there is something else woven into your genetic code. Something ancient. Something we cannot identify." The smile faded from Taeyang's face. What are you talking about? I'm just human. My parents were human. My grandparents were human. My whole family has lived on Earth, or Earth colony for generations. I believe you, Zielerin said carefully. But the scans do not lie. Your genetic structure contains sequences that do not match any known species in our database. These sequences are old, incredibly old. They come from creatures that existed on Earth millions of years before humans evolved. Taeyong stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. That's impossible. How could I have DNA from extinct animals? That is what we need to discover, Zielerin replied. With your permission, I would like to run more detailed tests. This could be a significant scientific discovery. Taeyong looked down at his hands, as if seeing them for the first time. They looked normal, just regular human hands with 5 fingers and calluses from years of manual work. He felt normal. He had never been sick, never had any strange symptoms or abilities. He was just an ordinary mining engineer who happened to be good at fixing broken equipment. Will these tests hurt? He asked quietly. No pain at all, Zielerin assured him. Just more scans. But Mr. Kim, I must be honest with you. Whatever is in your DNA, it is remarkable, and it may change everything we know about human evolution. The journey from Galactic Station Theta 7 to Earth's moon took 3 days. Dr. Zielerin spent every waking hour reviewing the genetic data, searching for answers that refused to reveal themselves. She had sent copies of Taeyang's DNA analysis to colleagues across the galaxy, hoping someone might recognize the mysterious sequences. Most responses were unhelpful, but one message stood out. Professor Helena Okonkwo, Earth's chief paleogeneticist, had sent a brief note that made Zielerin's hearts race. Come to the Lunar Archive immediately. I think I know what you found. Now Zielerin stood in the massive underground facility carved into the moon's surface, surrounded by the fossilized remains of Earth's ancient history. The air was cool and dry, perfect for preserving delicate specimens that had survived millions of years. Rows of carefully maintained fossils stretched as far as her compound eyes could see. Professor Okonkwo was a tall woman with dark skin and gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She moved with the careful precision of someone who has spent decades handling priceless artifacts. She led Zielerin through the archive without saying much, her face serious and thoughtful. I need to show you something, Helena said finally, stopping before a massive skeleton mounted on a reinforced frame. This specimen was discovered in the mountains of China 70 years ago. We kept it classified because we did not know what to make of it. Zielerin looked up at the fossilized creature and felt all 4 of her lungs catch at once. The skeleton was enormous, easily 15 meters from head to tail. It had a long serpentine body, powerful legs with razor-sharp claws, and massive wings that would have spanned 20 meters when fully extended. The skull was large and elongated, with rows of teeth designed for tearing meat. What is this? Zielerin whispered. Humans have always called them dragons, Helena replied quietly. Every culture on Earth has stories about them. In Korea, they were wise and benevolent creatures that brought rain and protected the people. In China, they were symbols of power and good fortune. In Europe, they were fierce monsters that heroes had to defeat. In the Americas, they were feathered serpents connected to the gods. But those are myths, Zielerin said. Stories passed down through generations. Helena smiled sadly. We always assumed they were just myths. Stories created to explain natural phenomena or to teach moral lessons. But 5 years ago, we found the skeleton. And then we found 3 more in different parts of the world. Different species, different sizes, but all clearly the same type of creature. Dragons were real, Dr. Zielerin. They lived on Earth during the Cretaceous period, right alongside the dinosaurs. Zielerin pulled out her portable scanner and aimed it at the fossilized bones. The device hummed softly as it analyzed the genetic material trapped in the ancient stone. When the results appeared on her screen, she nearly dropped the scanner. This is impossible, she breathed. What did you find? Helena asked, moving closer. Zielerin held up the scanner with shaking hands. The genetic markers in this fossil match the unknown sequences in Kim Taeyang's DNA. Not just similar, identical, Your patient shares 47% of his DNA structure with this creature. Helena's face went pale. Her hands trembled as she reached out to touch the fossilized bone. That cannot be right. These creatures went extinct 65 million years ago. The same asteroid that killed the dinosaurs wiped them out. There is no way their DNA could be in a living human. Unless they did not go extinct, Zielerin said slowly, her mind racing through possibilities. Unless they evolved, changed, transformed into something new. What are you suggesting? Zielerin pointed at the genetic readout on her scanner. Look at these sequences. They are not random fragments. They are organized, structured. They follow specific patterns that suggest deliberate genetic engineering. These dragons knew the asteroid was coming. They knew their species would die. So they did something incredible. Helena stared at her. What did they do? They preserved themselves, Zielerin said. They took their genetic code and wove it into the DNA of smaller creatures. Primitive mammals that could survive the extinction event. Those mammals evolved over millions of years, carrying the dragon DNA forward through every generation. Eventually, those mammals became primates, and those primates became humans. You're saying that humans have dragon DNA because the dragons deliberately put it there? Exactly, Zielerin confirmed. Earth was a seed world. The dragons planted themselves in your evolutionary path. They did not disappear. They transformed. Every human alive today carries pieces of their genetic legacy. Helena sat down heavily on a nearby bench, her mind struggling to accept what she was hearing. If this is true, we need to inform the scientific community immediately. This changes everything we know about human evolution. I already sent preliminary reports to the Galactic Council, Zielerin said. They want genetic samples from humans across known space. They want to know how widespread this dragon DNA is. Over the next week, the news spread to the galaxy like wildfire. Scientists collected DNA samples from human colonies on dozens of worlds. Space stations, mining outposts, agricultural settlements, research facilities. Everywhere humans lived, samples were taken and analyzed. The results shocked everyone. Every single human carried dragon DNA. Some had more than others, but everyone had the ancient genetic sequences woven into their cells. It was not a mutation or an anomaly. It was a fundamental part of what made humans human. But Kim Taeyong was different. Zielerin called him to the lunar archive to share the news. He stood before the massive dragon skeleton, looking up at it with wide eyes. Most humans have between 15 and 30% dragon DNA in their genome, Zielerin explained. It has been diluted over millions of years of evolution. But you, Mr. Kim, have 98.7% activation of these sequences. Taeyong turned to stare at her. What does that mean? It means you are not just carrying dormant genetic code from an ancient species. Your dragon DNA is active, functional. For reasons we do not yet understand, you're closer to being a dragon than being human. Kim Taeyong opened his eyes in the darkness and knew immediately that something was wrong. His skin felt like it was on fire. Every nerve in his body screamed with heat. He tried to sit up, but his muscles felt strange, stronger somehow, yet unfamiliar, as if they belonged to someone else. He looked down at his hands and gasped. In the dim light of his quarters on the lunar base, he could see his skin glowing faintly with an inner warmth. Sweat poured down his face and arms. When a drop hit the sheets, it sizzled. The sheets were smoldering. Thin wisps of smoke rose from where his body touched the fabric. Taeyong jumped out of bed, his heart racing. He stumbled to the bathroom and splashed cold water on his face. The water turned to steam the moment it touched his skin. He stared at his reflection in the mirror, barely recognizing himself. His eyes seemed brighter somehow, with flecks of gold that had never been there before. Medical emergency, he said to the room's computer system, his voice hoarse. I need help. Within minutes, Dr. Zielerin arrived with her medical team. She immediately began scanning him with various instruments, her compound eyes narrowing with concern as she read the results. Your body temperature is 45 degrees Celsius, she said, her voice steady but urgent. That should be fatal for a human. Your brain should have shut down. Your organs should be failing. Then why do I feel stronger? Taeyong asked. I should be dying, but I feel more alive than ever. I can hear the air moving through the ventilation system 3 rooms away. I can smell the metal in the walls. Everything is sharper, clearer. Zila Rin's mandibles clicked together as she studied her scanner. The symptoms are accelerating. Your dormant genetic sequences are activating at an unprecedented rate. Your heightened senses, increased strength, elevated core temperature. These are not human traits. These are dragon traits. Why is this happening now? Taeyong demanded, fear creeping into his voice. I've been fine for 32 years. Why did my DNA suddenly decide to wake up? Stress triggers, Zilerin explained, pulling up genetic charts on a holographic display. The mining accident injured you, which stressed your body. Then the medical testing, the revelation about your DNA, the travel to the moon, each event added more stress. Your body responded by activating defense mechanisms coded into your DNA millions of years ago. The dragons built survival instincts into their genetic legacy. Your body thinks it needs those instincts to survive. Taeyong sat down on the edge of the medical bed, his hands shaking. So what happens now? Do I keep changing? Will I turn into a dragon? I do not know, Zilerin admitted. No human has ever experienced activation at this level before. You are the first. Over the next 2 days, Taeyong's condition continued to evolve. His body temperature stabilized at the dangerously high level, but he felt no discomfort. His strength increased until he accidentally crushed a metal rail. When he grabbed it, his eyesight became so sharp he could read text from across a large room. He stopped needing much sleep, feeling energized after just 2 or 3 hours of rest. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session to discuss what they now called the dragon-human situation. Taeyong watched the broadcast from his medical room, feeling sick as he listened to politicians from dozens of worlds argue about his species. Counselor Vex, a large reptilian creature with red scales and yellow eyes, slammed his clawed fist on the podium. These creatures are dangerous. Their ancestors were apex predators that ruled their planet for millions of years. We should quarantine their entire species before they become a threat to galactic peace. Humans are sentient beings with rights. Another counselor argued, a floating jellyfish-like creature whose voice came through a translator. We cannot punish an entire species for their genetics. There are weapons waiting to activate. Vex roared, look at the evidence. This Kim Taeyong has gained superhuman strength and abilities in just days. What happens when millions of humans start awakening these dragon traits? What happens when they remember that their ancestors were killers? Taeyong turned off the broadcast, unable to watch anymore. He looked down at his hands, still glowing faintly with internal heat, and wondered if Vex was right. Maybe humans were dangerous. Maybe he was dangerous. 3 days after the emergency broadcast, his sister arrived at the lunar base. Lee Mina was 30 years old, 3 years younger than Taeyong. She worked as a xenoanthropologist, studying how different alien cultures interacted with each other. She had been on a research station in the Andromeda sector when she heard about her brother's condition. She had traveled for 3 days straight to reach him. Taeyong stood when she entered his room. He had not seen her in over a year, and he worried about how she would react to his changes. Would she be afraid of him? Would she see him as a monster like Counselor Vex did? Mina stopped in the doorway, studying him carefully. Her dark eyes took in every detail, his glowing skin, his brighter eyes, the way he stood differently now, more balanced and predatory. How are you feeling? She asked softly, stepping closer. Like I'm becoming something else, Taeyong admitted. Mina, what if they are right? What if humans are dangerous? What if I am dangerous? Mina reached out and took his hand, ignoring the heat radiating from his skin. Every species is dangerous in its own way. The Krell are warriors who conquer through strength. The Velosians are scientists who can engineer deadly diseases. The Avians control vast trading networks that can destroy economies. Being dangerous does not make you evil. But what if I cannot control it? Taeyong whispered, what if these instincts take over and I hurt someone? Then we will figure out together, Mina said firmly. You are my brother. Dragon DNA or not, You are still you, and I will not let you face this alone. That night, alarms suddenly screamed through the lunar base, shattering the quiet conversation between brother and sister. The alarms shrieked through the lunar base like wounded animals. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors, casting everything in an eerie crimson glow. Taeyong jumped to his feet, his newly heightened senses immediately detecting something wrong. He could hear heavy footsteps, too many of them, moving to the hallways with purpose and speed. "What is happening?" Mina asked, her voice tight with fear. Before anyone could answer, the door to the medical bay exploded inward. The reinforced metal buckled under some kind of explosive charge, sending fragments flying across the room. Mina screamed and dove behind a medical console. Dr. Zilerin moved quickly to shield her with her body. 12 figures in black armor poured through the smoking doorway. Their suits were military grade, equipped with advanced weapons and scanning equipment. Each one moved with the precision of trained soldiers. Their helmets hid their faces, making them look like identical machines rather than living beings. Target acquired, the leader said through his helmet speaker system. His voice was cold and mechanical. Secure the specimen. Use non-lethal force if possible. Kill anyone who interferes. 3 soldiers aimed their weapons at Dr. Zilerin and Mina. The other 9 advanced on Taeyong, their guns trained on his chest. "Come quietly and no one gets hurt," the leader commanded. Something deep inside Taeyong's chest ignited. It was not anger exactly, though anger was part of it. It was something older, something primal. His DNA remembered being hunted. His DNA remembered fighting back. His DNA remembered winning. The world suddenly slowed down around him. He could see everything with perfect clarity. The slight tremor in one soldier's hand, the way another shifted his weight before moving, the red targeting lasers painting his chest. His vision sharpened until he could count the individual scratches on their armor. His muscles tensed, flooding with strength that should not have been possible. Heat erupted from his core. It spread through his veins like liquid fire, burning away fear and hesitation. His body temperature spiked so high that the air around him began to shimmer. He did not think. He did not plan. He simply moved. The first soldier never saw him coming. One moment Taeyong was standing still, and the next he was in motion, crossing 3 meters in the blink of an eye. His fist connected with the soldier's chest plate. The reinforced steel armor, designed to stop bullets and energy blasts, crumpled like paper. The soldier flew backward, crashing into 2 of his companions. "Fire! Fire!" the leader shouted. The second attacker squeezed his trigger, but Taeyong was already moving. The energy bolt passed through empty air where he had been standing a fraction of a second earlier. Taeyong's hand shot out, grabbing the weapon and crushing it. Metal and circuit sparked between his fingers. He shoved the soldier backward with enough force to slam him into the wall. His skin began to change. Mina watched in horror and fascination as patches of scales appeared on his arms, chest, and neck. They were not like snake scales or lizard scales. They were larger, harder, with an iridescent quality that made them shimmer in the red emergency lights. They looked like armor grown from within. Taeyong's eyes blazed with golden light. Heat radiated from his body in waves, making the air around him dance and waver. The temperature in the medical bay spiked 20 degrees in seconds. Medical equipment began to smoke and malfunction from the extreme heat. A third soldier tried to tackle him from behind. Taeyong spun with impossible speed, catching the man in midair. He threw the soldier across the room like a toy. The man crashed through a medical cart, scattering instruments everywhere. Dr. Zilerin watched in awe and terror as Taeyong fought. He moved like something out of ancient nightmares, fast, powerful, and utterly unstoppable. His movements were efficient and deadly, with no wasted motion. Every punch landed with devastating force. Every dodge was perfectly timed. He was not fighting like a mining engineer with no combat training. He was fighting with instincts millions of years old, instincts burned into his DNA by creatures that had once ruled an entire planet. The soldiers were trained warriors, veterans of conflicts across the galaxy, but they fell before Taeyong like children challenging an adult. Their weapons could not hit him. Their armor could not stop him. Their numbers meant nothing. Retreat! Retreat! The leader finally screamed, dragging one of his wounded companions toward the broken doorway. The remaining soldiers scrambled to escape, grabbing their injured comrades and running. Taeyong took one step toward them, and they moved even faster, panic overriding their military discipline. Then it was over. The attackers were gone, leaving only scorch marks, broken equipment, and wounded pride behind. Taeyong stood in the center of the destroyed medical bay, his chest heaving with deep breaths. Smoke rose from his skin, curling upward like incense. The scales on his arms and chest slowly faded, sinking back beneath his normal skin. The golden glow in his eyes dimmed gradually, returning to their normal brown color. He looked down at his hands, turning them over slowly. They looked normal again, but he could still feel the power thrumming beneath his skin, ready to surge forth at any moment. "What did I just do?" he whispered, his voice shaking. Mina emerged from behind the medical console, staring at her brother with wide eyes. Dr. Zillarin stood up slowly, all four of her arms trembling slightly. "You defended yourself," Zillarin said quietly. "Your dragon DNA responded to the threat and gave you the tools to survive." "I could have killed them," Taeyong said, horror creeping into his voice. "I wanted to kill them. Part of me enjoyed it." "But you did not kill them," Mina pointed out, walking slowly toward him. "You could have, but you chose not to. That is what makes you human, not dragon. You have the power, but you also have the choice." Security footage from the medical bay was automatically uploaded to the lunar base's central computer. Within an hour, copies had spread across the base's network. Within 3 hours, the footage had been transmitted to Earth and other human colonies. Within 6 hours, every species in the galaxy had seen it. The video showed a human, previously thought to be a weak species with average physical abilities, displaying impossible strength and speed. It showed his body transforming, scales appearing on his skin like natural armor. It showed him defeating trained soldiers with ease. The galaxy watched the footage and felt a chill run through their hearts. They had thought humans were harmless. Now they knew the truth. Humans carried the DNA of apex predators, and that DNA could wake up. The dreams began 3 nights after the attack. Kim Taeyong would close his eyes and immediately fall into visions that felt more like memories than dreams. He saw a world covered in fire and ash, with massive winged creatures flying through smoke-filled skies. He heard voices speaking in a language that should have been meaningless, but somehow he understood every word. The messages were always the same. Ancient voices from 65 million years in the past, speaking directly to him across time itself. "If you hear this, then we succeeded. The inheritors have risen. But know this, we did not die from the falling sky alone. We died fighting the endless hunger, and it is returning." Taeyong woke up screaming on the 4th night. His sheets were soaked with sweat, and his body temperature had spiked again. Mina rushed into his room and found him sitting on the edge of his bed, his head in his hands. "The dragons are talking to me," he whispered. "They left a message in my DNA. A warning." Dr. Zillarin arrived within minutes, bringing her equipment. She scanned Taeyang's brain while he described the dreams in detail. Her mandibles clicked together nervously as she studied the results. "There are patterns in your neural activity that match the genetic sequences we found," she explained. "The dragons did not just pass down physical traits. They encoded memories, information. They turned your DNA into a biological data storage system." "What are they warning me about?" Taeyong asked. Over the next week, Zillarin worked day and night to translate the messages. She used advanced computers to decode the patterns in Taeyang's dreams, turning ancient dragon memories into words that other species could understand. What she discovered made her blood run cold. "The Void Swarm," she said during an emergency meeting with galactic scientists. "The dragons called it the Endless Hunger. It is a species-consuming entity that travels through space, devouring entire worlds. It absorbs the genetic material of everything it consumes, growing stronger with each planet it destroys. The dragons fought this thing 65 million years ago. They lost. But they did not give up," Mina added, reading the translated text from a holographic display. When they realized they could not win, they created a backup plan. They encoded their DNA into smaller creatures that could survive the asteroid impact. They created humanity to be their final weapon. We were designed to fight what they could not defeat. The news spread to the galaxy like a plague. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session that lasted for 3 days. Politicians and military leaders argued constantly about what to do. Counselor Vex demanded that all humans be locked in quarantine facilities to prevent them from becoming dangerous. Other counselors called for immediate military preparation. A few suggested surrendering before the Void Swarm even arrived. On the 4th day, Kim Taeyong requested permission to address the council. He stood before representatives from 200 different worlds, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped his heart. "The dragons made us to survive where they could not," he said clearly. "They gave us adaptability, intelligence, and the instinct to never give up no matter how bad things look. If the swarm is coming, then we will fight. Not just humans, all of us, together. We are stronger as a galaxy than as individual species." Easy words from someone who has superhuman powers. Vex sneered. "What about the rest of your species? Can they all transform like you?" "I do not know," Taeyong admitted, "but I think we should find out." The council agreed to allow volunteers from human colonies to undergo genetic activation therapy. Dr. Zilarin developed a treatment that could safely trigger the dormant dragon DNA without killing the patient. It was dangerous, and not everyone survived the process. But thousands of humans volunteered anyway. Park Jaiwoo was a doctor from Busan who worked at a medical facility on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. She had always been good at her job, but she was still just a normal human with normal limitations. After the genetic activation therapy, she discovered she could heal injuries at impossible speeds. She could touch a broken bone and feel it knit back together under her hands. She could close bleeding wounds with just her thoughts. Her dragon DNA had given her the ability to manipulate biological tissue. Choi Do-hyun was a history teacher at a school on Mars colony. He was quiet and thoughtful, the kind of person who preferred books to people. After his treatment, his mind changed. He could process tactical data, like a supercomputer, seeing patterns and connections that others missed. He could look at a battlefield and immediately understand the best strategy for winning. His dragon DNA had enhanced his intelligence to superhuman levels. Lee Hanna was a cargo ship pilot who transported supplies between Earth and the outer colonies. She had always had good reflexes, but after her genetic activation, her abilities tripled. She could dodge asteroids that appeared without warning. She could make split-second decisions that saved her ship from disaster. Her dragon DNA had turned her into the best pilot in human space. Across human colonies, similar stories emerged. Some people gained strength like Taeyong. Others developed enhanced senses that let them detect danger from kilometers away. A few discovered they could withstand extreme temperatures or survive in environments that would kill normal humans. Each person's dragon DNA activated differently, giving them unique abilities suited to their personality and natural talents. But not everyone supported this transformation. Counselor Vex and his allies worked behind the scenes to sabotage the program. They spread fear and propaganda, claiming that humans were becoming monsters. They pushed for laws that would restrict human travel and force genetic testing on all human citizens. 3 months after Taeyang's warning, the Void Swarm arrived at the edge of known space. Long-range sensors detected it first, a massive organic structure that stretched across millions of kilometers. It moved through space like a living thing, consuming everything in its path. Planets, asteroids, even stars disappeared into its bulk, absorbed and digested. The swarm had returned, just as the dragons had warned.